that's the thing. There's a lot of bad guys out there, but we need good guys like you to take care of the job. Greetings, Red Tie community. It's the bald guy in the red tie, John Butler, your favorite bald-headed red tie wearing host of the Red Tie Community Show. Because guess what, Chad? I'm the only host of the Red Tie Community.
That makes you the best.
I win by default. I like setting the odds in my favor. That's how that works. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a very smiley person here. We have somebody that is running for Sheriff of Riverside County, Mr. Chad Bianco.
Well, oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. And so what was funny is a few weeks ago, the show's been getting some traction, some momentum and stuff like that. And people are like, through the grapevine, some law enforcement peoples were like, you need to get Chad Bianco on your show. He needs to tell his story. He needs to share his heart. He needs a platform because you're going up against someone that's been sheriff for a long time.
Right. He's been the sheriff for 10 years now.
10 years. And I think people are ready for a change.
Yeah, it's time for a change. Everything good always comes to an end, and no matter how you want to look at it for his reign as the sheriff, it's time for him to enjoy his retirement, and we need to move on with a little bit younger of a generation to fix things that have gone awry.
And that's a part of life. It's stories come to an end, seasons come to an end, and then there's new things. And so I see you as being that new chapter and that new story. And so I'm just super excited and grateful that you are willing to take some time today and kind of, here we are. We're in the studio, so
of course. This is good.
Let's jump into your story.
Let's get into it.
Now, I have a confession, ladies and gentlemen. I've always had a little secret place in my heart for law enforcement because I grew up watching Cops. Right?
Yeah.
That's okay. When I said that,
that's okay. We like here watching Cops to learn what not to do when you go into a situation. Yeah. I mean, it's entertaining. It's fun. It's entertaining, but some of it just makes you want to cringe sometimes.
Well, I did a ride along with some CHP officers, and that's a good time. And I know that's not sheriff, and I know it's all
that's
certain
okay.
divisions.
We're all the same.
It's this excitement of chasing down the bad guys.
That's why I love it. I picked this career, and I've been in it for 25 years now, and looking back, there is nothing I would do different. There is nothing I wouldn't look to have a different career, making a lot more money, or a lot of my friends are making a whole lot more better off than what I am.
Sure.
And I wouldn't change a thing. You can't beat this job if you either love it or you hate it, and I love it, everything about it, the adrenaline, the excitement, you're talking about going on a ride along and being in a car, and whether it's a pursuit or whether it's just listening to the radio trying to get someplace, or trying to go help someone, whatever it is, it really is. I don't want to sound cliche, but it's a rewarding career.
Yeah.
And it's you get what you put into it, and you get out of it what you put into it, and it's I wouldn't do anything other than this.
That's so cool. And like I said, having family in law enforcement, you guys always just have the best stories. Like no day is ever the same, right? I mean,
no,
it's just
not.
Different.
And we handle the same calls every day, but you're dealing with different personalities every day because it's just different people. So no situation is the same from one day to the next, although the call type might be the same. It's always something different. It's always exciting. It's always, you've always got a story to tell after, because each individual person is different, and they may do or say something a little bit odd from the call before. So there's always good stories.
Well, especially with Riverside County, covering so much mileage in Southern California, you have everything from, the nice areas of Temecula to maybe some places that aren't so nice, out in the boonies and whatnot. But
Riverside County is unique. Yeah. I mean, we're very, very large, from Corona to Blythe and San Diego to San Bernardino. It's very huge, and we have, we've got a lot of rural areas. We've got more, city type of situation. We don't have like the downtown LA, but we still have our cities within the county area, and so we get a variety of everything. There's a lot of places that are crime free, and a lot of places that are definitely not.
Throw a rock and you'll hit a criminal.
There are some places like that. Those are the places we like to go.
Well, that's where you're needed, and that's what I kind of opened up with, is that I would love to think that this world is full of great, good people, but unfortunately there's a spectrum. There's an element of humans that are just out to cause problems.
That's right. And it's not everyone. And we know that as law enforcement officers, that there's most of the people we come in contact with are good people.
Yeah.
It's the small percentage of the population that is committing the crimes that believe that your property is theirs and what you have should be theirs, and there's no feeling for other people's property or life, and that's the job security part for us is. I don't know if it's
never a shortage of that.
That's right, and I don't know if you can ever get rid of that in people.
Yeah.
So that's why we need law enforcement. That's why we need a good law enforcement agency to combat those things. And as society evolves and as society grows, the criminal element changes. I mean, they're not. They're not dumb. I mean, they're smart, intelligent people, and they're doing everything they can to get away with their crimes. And if law enforcement doesn't adapt and try and change the way we do business in order to combat that, then we're just behind the eight ball every single day, and they're just running amok. And then that's when more people get victimized, and that's when they feel law enforcement's not helping them, and they feel that they're unsafe or they feel victimized by thefts or frauds, things like that. So we have to evolve in a society of criminals that are evolving, and if we don't, that's going to be an area that quality of life issues, you're not going to want to live there.
Well, and that's what I see setting up for you, with this election coming up. I think it's time for some new blood because, it's not getting any better,
right.
There's the give and take of it.
Right. And, the real issue, I don't know if I would call it an issue, but an aspect of this election is sooner or later as a voting populace, we've all got to be honest with ourselves. And we have done nothing to change our agency to make it better for the public.
Yeah.
We've done the same thing for the history. We've done this. We're the same reactive law enforcement agency that we started 125 years ago, whenever the county started and the sheriff's department started. Yeah. And if we're not honest with ourselves about having to change and doing something different, then we're seriously going to fail. And we have to be honest with ourselves as cops and as residents and citizens and voters that we are failing and we have to do something different.
Yep.
And that's where a swinging point of this election is. It really comes down to integrity and honesty, because between me and the current sheriff, and we differ greatly. I believe in a completely different law enforcement than he does, and I want to make a difference. I want to go out there and do things better for the community, and he wants to do the same thing he's been doing. He touts his 40 years in law enforcement. That's enough. I mean, he needs to enjoy his retirement and move on.
Yeah.
And we need to change, and we need to do things different, and we need to adapt not only for the criminal element that we were talking about, but also budget. I mean, we're at times where we all know we don't have the money. So to have your answer year after year after year of just saying, you need to give me more money and I need more people, we can't have that anymore. We've got to evolve, and we've got to be more efficient. We've got to do things a little bit different so we can do it with less people, less money, provide a better service. And that's really where we're at right now. And you can either blame the Board of Supervisors, who are all for public safety also. They're elected officials too. I joke and say, you're going to vote for one of your Board of Supervisors, and if that person gets up and tells you, I'm not for public safety and I'm not for fire, they're probably not going to get too many votes.
Right, yeah.
But in this election, you have to believe that all of them are anti-law enforcement, and only the poor victimized sheriff that he tries to be a martyr and say his hands are tied and he can't do anything, and he wants you to believe that all of those men up there, currently men, are against law enforcement. It's just not the case. They're realists. They don't have the money and they want help, and they don't believe they're getting it, which I don't believe they are either. So that's really why I'm running, just to change our department, make it better, and provide a better service.
So I'm excited for this because I could tell you're fired up. We got some issues we're going to cover.
It's you've got a 45-minute show, an hour show, whatever it is. I'm a passionate guy about this, and honestly, every time I go somewhere, I tell people, be prepared, because you give me 5 minutes, that really means 5 hours.
That's awesome.
And I can talk till breakfast. We might have to order in or something. So.
Hey, we'll do a 24-hour show here.
There you go.
But let's take it back to square one, because you don't just wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a sheriff. So I always love people's origin stories. So let's take it back to the good old days. You're once upon a time. how did this whole path start for you?
You know, it's I don't think it definitely wasn't a conscious decision when I was a kid that I want to grow up and be a cop. I had no law enforcement officers in my background or in my family. Very small town. We had one police officer, and he was the chief of police, so everybody knew him. That was my idea of law enforcement. So growing up, I was probably like a whole bunch of other kids. I was going to be a professional baseball player, so that was my life.
Right.
And around 16-ish or so, I had an encounter with a highway patrolman, and I ended up getting a ticket. But in that process, he sat with me and talked with me 15, 20 minutes, and it wasn't a speeding ticket. It was for something different, and, a little brush with the law as a juvenile. And he told me nothing different than what my dad has always told me. But the way he talked to me and the way he told me, I'm going down a path, and right now I can choose this fork or this fork. This fork takes me down a path I probably don't like, and this one I could have a big future in baseball. And he knew who I was just because of the sports thing. So when I left him, I really, really did feel different, and it was a very humbling experience. I was very embarrassed instead of being a kid that was rotten cops. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I was very embarrassed, and I was humbled, and so it did stick with me. But then when I became an adult, my baseball career didn't pan out the way I thought it was going to. I know, and it wasn't my fault. I should have been there, darn it.
Yep.
But I got into law enforcement, and at the time I was working in a Ford dealership in the service department, and one of my buddies there was going through the academy himself, and I start talking to him about it, and I remembered that guy, and I remembered what an influence he had on me, and all growing up I was very athletic, oriented for different sports. So sure. Coaches played a big part in my life and in my nurturing through life, and so I respected all of them. So I get into law enforcement, and it just, I don't know how or why, but it was God. I mean, mm-hmm. I'm a believer, and I believe that everything, if you do things right, you're led down a path of that's probably where you're supposed to be. And so I got into law enforcement, and boy, from day one of the academy, I knew this was where I was supposed to be. And since being a cop, I carry every single day that thought of what that highway patrolman did to me, and if I can influence somebody, and I believe there are kids out there that I have changed their life because I've talked to them like he talked to me, and I've told them the same things that he told me. So I'm pretty sure there are people out there. So it makes me feel good they're there, and I really enjoy kids. I got 4 of my own, but high school baseball coach, cross country coach, track coach. So I enjoy mentoring kids with athletics. I mean, when you're learning athletics, you're really learning to be a good team player and a good adult.
So many ripple effects that come out of that.
Yeah. So, that's basically how I got into law enforcement. It wasn't something that I picked and went to. It was something that multiple things in life led me to.
Doors opened, huh?
That's right. And whether it was an ad in the paper or a friend telling me, here's the day you need to show up to test, it all worked out, and here I am. And
do you remember your first day on the job?
I do. Unfortunately, with the sheriff's department, my first day on the job was in the jail.
Okay.
And so I remember that vividly because that's not what I did. That's not what I signed up for. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was going out to patrol. I was going to make a difference, and I was going to be out in that black and white. And I went to the jail, and it was not something I wanted to do. And that's one of the issues that I have with our department currently, is I don't believe that deputy sheriff should be in the jail. I believe you go to the academy to go out and you pay extra, or you don't pay extra. The county pays extra to train you, sure. And we should get that benefit of a patrol officer, not a jail person. And we have some different issues with personnel within our department that I need to change and make a difference in just staffing. But my first day on the job was in the jail, and so it was nothing major. But I remember my first day on patrol
So I know an officer, and he works in the county jails, and this always stuck out to me. And these are his words, not yours, but maybe you can confirm or deny. But he says that the jail smells like corn dogs and butt. Is that accurate? I've never been to jail, thank God. But
probably pretty close. I don't know why those two would mixed that you would be able to come up with that.
That's what he thought of. I don't know.
Wow.
But it was such a I was like, okay, well.
I will definitely.
I'll stay out of jail.
Yeah, and that's going to pop into my head the next time I go inside the jail.
I'm just glad I've never experienced it, so I'll just take his word for it.
It's not a good smell. It's very unique.
Yeah.
And it's like popcorn. You can't. I don't know how you describe popcorn, but it's
a
popcorn.
Certain smell that it has, huh?
So a jail is a jail, and now it's always going to be.
You'll always remember the ball guy in the red tie from that. There you go.
Yeah,
corn dogs and butt. Man, so you are running for the top spot of Riverside County for the sheriff, and you've actually prepared a 30-second commercial that's hitting the airwaves. I was watching TV the other day, and I saw it come on. I was like, oh, I'm talking to that guy on Thursday, so I got all excited. So Tyler the Tech is going to cue up that video for us.
Mismanagement, taxpayer ripoffs, financial scandals. We can't afford 4 more years with Sniff a Sheriff. We need new leadership. We need Lieutenant Sheriff Chad Bianco.
I've worked to protect Riverside County for 25 years. As your sheriff, I'll protect the taxpayers and the communities we serve.
Deputy sheriffs, cops, and taxpayers agree. Lieutenant Sheriff Chad Bianco for Sheriff of Riverside County. We need him now.
Nicely done, sir.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's kind of cool seeing yourself on TV.
Is it weird? You'll be like flipping through the channels on. Oh, there I am.
This morning. The first time I've seen it online, but the first time I've seen it on TV was this morning. My wife and I were sitting there drinking coffee and watching the news, and on it popped. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool.
Well, so last week I did a little pre-promotion. I said, hey, I'm going to be talking to Mr. Chad Bianco next Thursday on the Red Tie Community Show. Literally within minutes, the comment section just started filling up. Some totally excited about it, and maybe some people with some criticism and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting how politics, man, it's an interesting jungle out there.
Jungle is a good term for it. It's interesting. It's not you can't go into it naive and just expect that, oh yeah, I think I'm going to go run for sheriff and everything's going to be rosy tomorrow.
It's ready for battle, huh?
It's nothing like that. There are some very angry, brutal people out there, and social media is bad because you got a whole bunch of keyboard warriors sitting behind a computer screen that, on a keyboard that there's no personal involvement in it, and they just believe they can say whatever they want, and they're very opinionated. Some of them have formed their opinions based on things that aren't necessarily true, just from what they've heard or what someone has told them personally or through the rumor mill, and they get. It's funny how passionate someone can be on a falsehood.
Yeah.
And I saw some of the comments that after you had posted that, and it was like, wow, that's it was mild. I have to tell you that yours were mild. So your viewers and your watchers and your listeners are probably
well behaved.
They are. They're a well behaved group. They were very, even the ones that were a little harsh were still politely harsh.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing for you.
I'll take polite harsh over
polite harsh.
I'll slit your throat. You're the devil. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Oh, and you get those. There are people that, especially with social media, that throw that out there at you. Not so much in person at a meet and greet or anytime you're out in public. That really doesn't happen. But the
behind
whole
that keyboard,
internet,
man.
Yeah,
you got that bravery.
That's right.
Well, so let's jump onto the issues. So out of that comment post and just from talking to people and stuff like that, seems like there is some common questions that a lot of people had. So I compiled the top 15 of the most burning questions of people's minds.
I'll try and keep my answers brief. That's a lot.
Well, we'll see how many we can get through.
We'll try and get them all.
We'll try to get them all. All right, so number one, what do you have to offer the county versus Sheriff Stan Sniff?
This is where we really differ the most, and this is what you're just you're going to have to look at both of us, and you're going to have to have to pick somebody. You're going to have to vote for someone, sure. And we differ completely. If I've been with the department for 25 years, mm-hmm. and I can honestly tell you that we are doing nothing today different than we did 25 years ago. We are we are based on a reactive policing model where we just answer a call for service. You call 911, we receive that 911 call, we drive out and we handle your issue that you were a victim or some type of an emergency, whatever it was. But we don't have a mission of actively engaging in crime prevention or eliminating crime patterns or crime hot spots or quality of life issues. We don't do that. And with reactive policing, it's never worked. It doesn't work today, and I can promise you it's not going to work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So until the residents of the county decide that they want a different policing model and vote for me, they're going to have the same issues in the coming years. Okay. We need to completely change the way we do business. We have to actively employ a philosophy of community-oriented policing where we are engaging deeply and emotionally with the community members and with business owners and with residents to where we're all working together on the same team. It can't be, the residents calling the police to come fix the problem. It has to be us dealing with it. And cities that are successful, those are the models that they have. And, I ran in 2014 with the same issues in 2014 as what we have in 2018. Mm-hmm. So we have changed nothing, and our issues have really gotten worse. Our problems have gotten worse. So that should kind of be a red flag to somebody that, hey, you had 4 years to make a difference and you didn't, and now we're talking about the same things over and over again. We have to start doing things different. And that's really what I have to offer is an active involvement, playing an active role in changing the way we do business to a proactive law enforcement agency. And you're going to hear throughout this election process that that's impossible because we don't have money. That's his answer for everything. For 10 years, really, go back. I mean, that's the good thing about Google. You can go back for 10 years, and for 10 years, all we have heard is, I need more money, I need more people, I can't do anything because the government did this, the state did this, the board of supervisors did this. And we haven't, all of the great things we've done, in the last 10 years with law enforcement, right? There's nothing. I can't tell you one great thing we have done. We have a department full of deputies that want to make a difference, that they want to go out and do mm-hmm. good things. So we have a whole bunch of individual good things happening, but we don't have a department-wide good thing where we are moving all in the same direction. And that's what we're missing. The commercial kind of said it. We are in dire need of leadership, and we just don't have it. I mean, we're a huge organization. We have no mission. We have no vision. Nobody knows, what we're really supposed to be doing except get in your car and go out and handle a call. We're lacking something, and we're lacking the leadership.
It's a proactive initiative, it sounds like you're proposing there. It's
very much so.
To move forward on it. Yeah.
Very much so. A different mindset of, I don't want to tell, the answer can never be, we can't do anything. I mean, we are public safety law enforcement officers. We can do anything we want. Right. So I used to beat into my kids, don't ever tell me you can't, because the word can't really means I won't. I either don't want to try right. or I just don't want to do it. Right. So don't say can't, and I will never say that. And we've had issues in our department now, a serious issue in Anza with marijuana grows, mm-hmm. and that's always been a we can't help you. We need more money. We need more people. And I went up there and made a difference with no more money, no more people, mm-hmm. and we can do that in every aspect of our job. So the difference between he and I is I want to actively make a difference, not just. I don't doing the same thing we've always done, kind of the definition of insanity, isn't it? If you do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result, it isn't going to happen. So,
and that is one of the questions that one of the residents had. They were kind of out in the Hemet-Anza area, kind of the unincorporated spots and stuff like that. And with cannabis laws that are changing, and even in the real estate industry, we're having to deal with this,
right.
Because now it's like, okay, well, statewide you can do it, but federally you can't.
Right. It's still illegal, even statewide. I mean, mass marijuana grows are completely illegal.
Yep.
County of Riverside marijuana grows are illegal. The statewide, law says you can have 6 plants, 12 plants in the same house. But a mass marijuana grow, completely illegal. All of the marijuana grows in Anza the quality of life issues that they have up there are sad.
Yep.
And you feel bad for them. And those are all illegal marijuana grows, and we should be doing something about them.
Yeah. And so what do you see happening with kind of the drug culture? Because obviously in the national news, the opioid crisis, the heroin and all this kind of stuff. Are you seeing that a lot on the streets with the methamphetamines? Like, what's kind of the pulse of
methamphetamine
that?
has always been around. It used to be the cheapest thing. It used to be the drug of choice because it was cheap. Mm-hmm. When the chemicals to make meth became more expensive and illegal, then that drove the price up, and so then other drugs were cheaper. So unfortunately, heroin became cheaper than methamphetamine, and there are a lot different consequences for having too much heroin, overdosing on heroin, than methamphetamine.
Seems like in the past decade, it's just exploded.
It has. We're having a lot of issue with heroin across the country.
Yeah.
The opioid epidemic. It's not only heroin; it's also prescription opiates. But it is a serious problem, and our state didn't make it any better when they basically legalized drugs. And I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I mean, it was, I don't want to get into the politics side of, even though we're talking about politics, but
right.
To say that we have a prison overcrowding, problem, so we're just going to make everything legal and
don't have to arrest people.
Right. Then we don't have a prison crowding anymore because people just do whatever they want and go ahead and do drugs, and there's no consequences, and it's legal, so why can't I do it? And it must be okay if it's legal. And a lot of people, if there's that, you don't want to do something illegal. You're raised with morals, you're raised with ethics, and you don't want to break the law. And so while kids may experiment sometimes, there's a lot that don't because they know they shouldn't.
Right.
But when that's taken away from them, then it's more acceptable, and it's more, unfortunately, when it was more acceptable, it also became less expensive and easy to get. And so now we're having serious problems, especially with an opiate that, you overdose on an opiate, and it basically just shuts your systems down, and everything just stops working, and, you go into a coma and you die.
And we're seeing a lot of that happening.
It's bad.
It's scary, man.
It's bad. Law enforcement wise, it's a tough issue. Is it law enforcement? Is it schools? Is it parents? Who's responsible for it? Law enforcement is an enforcement aspect of it. So everyone's going to have to come together to come up with a solution to this. It's not, the cops aren't going to fix it. The cops are out there, dealing with the aftermath of it.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be a good education combination.
It's almost a society issue.
It is. It's 100% a society issue.
Yeah. Now, speaking of arrest and stuff like that, so one of the people that were on the comment section there, they were asking about the overcrowding of the jails and the prisons and stuff like that. What's, this early release with the felons and kind of slap on the wrist and then right back out the next day? It's like, on one hand, you can't just keep cramming people into the jail cells, but on the other hand, it's like, how do you control public safety when there's criminals just coming in and out like it's a revolving door?
Right, and unfortunately, it is a revolving door, and we have a heightened revolving door here in Riverside County because we honestly are completely lacking in available bed space. We've been under a federal court order since 1993 for bed space issues that we can only hold so many inmates, and once we get to that level, we have to let people out. Mm-hmm. So, 25 years now, that's led to now where the state has decided that they're going to control their inmate population by just giving them to the counties where we couldn't hold them. It was basically, when they did that, they basically let them all go. because we had no place for them anyway. And our jails are getting to be where they're turning into a prison system. That's what the state wanted them to be, is turn a jail, which is meant to house an inmate for less than a year, into a long-term housing location. And it's just that's not what it's designed to be. So in a perfect world, we could triple, quadruple our jail space, and that might be enough, but that isn't going to happen. We don't have the money for it. We don't have the time. It takes 10 years to build a jail, to get it through planning and building and everything else. So, but at the same time, we have to do something. We can't just say, oh, there's nothing I can do. We just need more bed space. We need new jails, and until we get a new jail, sorry, I can't help you. I don't buy that. I mean, we can't stop from doing our job. The reality is, we've talked about criminals earlier. There are people that are just going to be criminals, and how do you stop someone from being a criminal? They choose to stop. They either decide, I'm going to stop, and why? I mean, because they want to, or because it's inconvenient for them. There used to be a punishment aspect, and they stopped because they didn't like being punished anymore. If we say that you're not going to go to jail anymore, so there's no punishment aspect, now it's just, when do they want to stop? So law enforcement-wise, we still have to be completely proactive, and we still have to arrest them. We still have to actively arrest them, take them to jail, book them into jail. Yes, we may have to release the lower, the lesser criminals, but we can't stop doing our job under the excuse of, oh, we're crowded. Sorry,
we're filled up.
Right. I mean, we've got to do something, and then with that, we're going to have to combination effort with other entities in the county, and we're going to have to come up with something. Huge work release programs, and everybody blames cost and we can't do anything. We can't do it. Everybody says they can't do anything. It's just because they don't want to try. Their answer is, give us a whole lot of more money so we can go ahead and do this, where I don't believe that. I mean, be creative. come up with a way to make a difference.
Do you have any outside the box solutions to any of those kind of problems?
We should have a very large work release program. I mean, you drive around our freeways. Drive around our freeways and then go to Arizona and drive through their freeways. They look completely different. We should be free labor. Inmates are free labor, and we should be utilizing that to help places, to clean things up, to help with other issues. And we're not, because we're just saying we don't have the personnel, we don't have this. Well, maybe if we just do things different. There's drastic solutions. I don't want to throw something out there over the air, because there are things that we should do that, but you don't want criminals to know that. You don't want
broadcast your next move.
Exactly. But there are definitely things that we should be doing, and that we could be doing. Right now, we're just choosing not to.
Right.
Because it's easier to say, it's not my problem. If you would just give me a whole bunch of more money and people, then I'll have to come up with a solution, and then I'll have to come up with a way to help. But until that happens, it's very easy to not do anything.
Yeah.
And just blame it on money, blame it on resources, blame it on personnel. And I don't. That's not the service that we're supposed to be providing to our residents.
Well, one of the big things that you seem to get a lot of support on is your stance on concealed weapons. So, kind of, what's your difference on that as opposed to Mr. Sheriff Sniff there?
Well, in a nutshell, I believe that every person that is not prevented criminally or mentally from obtaining a concealed weapons permit should have one, and they should have it in a timely manner. My personal belief, and a lot of other people in our department believe, that our current 2-year wait is just a way for the current sheriff to stop people from even applying. It's a deterrent to even apply.
Is it really 2 years?
2 years.
Wow.
2 years. You call up today and you're going to get an appointment in 2020.
Wow.
I mean, that is ridiculous. It's embarrassing. We're the only county in the state that has that. You have a sheriff that claims he is pro 2A, which I will give him this, that he believes that everyone should own a gun, but he does not believe that everyone should carry a gun. He believes only cops should carry a gun, or people that he gives permission to. And that's where we really differ. I believe that it's our constitutional right. And the state is set up as a may issue state. There's a difference between shall and may. My philosophy is more on the shall issue. If you're not prevented in my county, you will get one. If his position is, if you're not prevented, then I'll still decide if I'll give you one.
So is he actually the decision maker? Like,
the sheriff is the decision maker.
So he has the final word on it.
Yes, and that's in state law. That's in California state law. Everything. I mean, it's given to police chiefs also. So a police chief could do it if they wanted to, but they can if they're not going to have the process, then it falls to the county sheriff. And so unless this chief of police is going to have a policy, everyone falls under the sheriff.
Interesting.
He is the final say. That is why every different county is different. It's easy to get a CCW in Orange County. The current undersheriff, who probably will be the next sheriff, I mean, that's the way things are looking. The outgoing sheriff, Sandra Hutchins, did not believe in CCW. She didn't want to issue any, and she didn't. So when she decided she wasn't going to run, her undersheriff took over 3 years ago, and in 3 years has issued 13,000 CCWs. Our current sheriff, who claims, and he even spouts numbers that says, we have 3,000 permits. 3,000 permits in 2.4 million people. That was a question. I can tell you this, everywhere I speak, the only common question in every group I talk to, whether it's Republican, Democrat, older women, younger college kids, every single person asks about CCWs. It is a common issue in our large county, in a large rural county. So to say that you're not going to go out and make a difference for all of those people that want that shows that you really aren't for it. He's showing his hand. He's showing that he's not for it. So he touts the number of, we have 3,000, and he says that when he came in, there was only 600, so he's given out 2,400 permits. It's been 10 years. That's only 240 a year.
Right.
And he claims he doesn't have enough people. There's only 2 people in the unit. Well, that's 120 per year for each of them, and they work 260 days a year. So I know those guys in that unit. They're good, hard workers. I've known them since we were all deputies together. It's not them. They do their job. A background investigation for a CCW is instant. You type your name in a computer, you hit return, and within milliseconds, that result comes back of whether or not you're prevented from owning or for carrying a gun.
Interesting.
So the wait is they're done with their little interview, and then your packet just goes up and sits in Never Land, and it for who knows what. Who knows who's reviewing it? Who knows what specific little criteria the sheriff puts into it, because his criteria is who he issues guns to. And then, you've got politics involved too, because there are so many people contacting me telling me, you can't use my name, but I'll just tell you this, my husband paid a lot of money and he got his in 3 months. And so if you make it to where everybody gets that, then you take away, the little power factor that, here, I can help you. I'm the sheriff. Oh, you're going to donate to my campaign. Who knows whether that's happening?
Sure.
I believe it is. And I believe that if you have some type of way to get to the sheriff and convince him that you should have it fast, he does it faster for certain people. I don't believe anyone's any better than anyone else. Right. Everyone should have the same opportunity to exercise their right.
So his is a 2-year turnaround time. What would yours be?
Ultimately, when I really get in there and find out how many people are waiting, because I really don't think there's that many people that are waiting to be approved. I think it's all by design to keep the numbers down. But ultimately, you've got San Bernardino that's a couple of months, and you've got Orange County that's 60 days, somewhere around there. And I think San Bernardino is like 90 days. The deciding factor of a CCW is your fingerprint return from the state. You have to submit fingerprints, and you have to wait for DOJ to return that card. And so that's the limiting factor. And that could be anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. So that is my idea of as long as you should wait. And there are some people in Orange County that are getting them in the same week.
Wow.
If they get their fingerprint card back, they already did their background check, and they get them within the same week.
Wow.
From the time they called. So with us, you call now and you get an appointment in 2020. But what you will never find out is, how many people have appointments from now until then?
Yeah.
Did the appointment start then? Are there only, or is that when you make one appointment a day, or, what is it that you're doing? Because he claims he's pro CCW, and he doesn't turn down anybody, but yet he's only given out 100 or 240 a year. It makes no sense. And when you're not honest about it, statistics don't back up your words, and reality doesn't back up your words. And where I'm offering what my position is, what my belief is, it's your right. And I don't believe that criminals come to the sheriff and say, "Here's my fingerprints, here's my name, here's my address. I want to carry a gun." They just do it anyway.
Yeah.
So the guy, you coming into my office and saying, "Hey, please let me carry a gun. Please give me a permit."
And especially in our industry, the real estate industry, it's like sometimes, especially during the REO days, when we would be out in the boonies going into empty houses, and you come across some very unsavory characters, and, thank goodness I never had any issues, but man, that's where those situations of a concealed carry would definitely come into play there.
Very much so. Very much so. Large homeless population now, and it's easy to find a vacant house, and it's easy to occupy a vacant house, and you don't know who's in there when you go to show it.
Yep. And if they're tweaked out of their mind and they don't know who you are, you're just the shadow man to them or something like that. They come out swinging.
That's right. And the reality is, whether you look at how we do business, we're reactive. Yeah. So I'm not going to help you in that situation.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have to hope that nothing bad happens to you. Now, every citizen that wants to carry a gun, there's a great liability that goes along with that. It's not, the things that I've heard, depending on which people are talking and spreading bad rumors about me and my position on CCWs, is in the gun community, everyone knows I'm the better choice. Everyone knows. The sheriff knows that if I'm able to appeal to all of the gun owners based on fact and on personal belief, I'm by far the only choice in this election. So he has to demonize that, and he has to say that he's got people out there telling gun owners and NRA people that I'm anti-gun and that I'm going to take away guns, and then he has other people saying that I'm just going to walk down and just dole out cards, and who knows, all the mental ill people are going to have
smear
CCWs.
campaign begins.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. And it's nothing like that. And reality and common sense should tell everyone that is not what's going to happen. But you get a lot of emotions get involved when you talk about rights.
It's quite a hot button right now. I mean,
very
just
much so.
Everything.
Yeah.
Another hot button question that's coming across the comment section there is about sanctuary cities and the whole federal law enforcement versus California being California. So where does our county kind of line up in that, and what are your thoughts about working with the federal agency? And
well, right now our county is, we have to abide by the state law. That's what the law of our state is. So you've got these other communities that are voting to opt out of it.
Sure.
They're charter cities that are able to do that. They're not really bound by the state legislature, where our county, we kind of are. We have a little bit of leeway, but not as much as a charter. So the cities can opt out. The county, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to opt out. I don't know where they stand. I was shown an email from one of our Board of Supervisors the other day that it appeared that it would be a 3-2 vote in favor of sanctuary cities. And they blamed it on the sheriff because they said that the sheriff has not told them that it poses any threat to the communities or involves law enforcement or anything else, which I think is just flat out ridiculous. That's more of a reason that should tell everyone that he should not be the sheriff. Because for anyone to say that the sanctuary state law protects us and provides a safety mechanism for us that is just completely not true. They called it a sanctuary city law because it sounds good. That's not what it was.
Branding.
Absolutely.
It's branding. Yeah.
Absolutely. And misleading, so people think it's a good thing. And
and maybe help me better understand this, because it seems like what you're just saying right there with the sanctuary label is, it sounds like it's a nice safe haven, right?
Oh, right.
For illegal immigrants and stuff like that.
The reality is law enforcement in California does not enforce immigration laws anyway. I mean, that is the federal government's responsibility. Now, we're fighting for manpower and we're fighting for monies to go out and just do regular service. So we certainly aren't going to use our limited resources doing something that the federal government is doing already.
Right.
But with that, we have to have cooperation with federal agencies. We have to know what they're doing and they have to know what we're doing. And as the sheriff, where it really comes into play for us is as the sheriff is releasing inmates. So when a criminal is sentenced to jail, sentenced to prison, and now they're sentenced in county jail, whatever it is, they're in our custody and their time is up. If they're illegal, what should happen is you call the federal government and you say, I have an illegal person in our country that is getting ready to be released because he served his time. You need to come and get him. That should be what's happening. And that's what the sanctuary state law prevents, is us from telling the federal government, ICE in particular, that we are releasing a convicted felon into society. Now, morally, as a law enforcement officer, as a dad, as a husband, as a cop, as you can come up with anything, how you would describe me, I cannot. If I have a tool to keep the community safe, rather than release a child molester who, just because he served his time, back into your neighborhood, or call ICE and have them deported because that's another tool at my disposal, that is where there's the failure in this law, and that's where I would have the responsibility of making sure he went back. Now you have sheriffs that are standing up and doing the right thing, and they're finding loopholes in the law and they're moving around it, so they're legally off the hook. They don't have to actually break the state law, and they're finding ways around it. We're not doing that here. I mean, our sheriff has no desire to try and really keep us safe, because to him everything is political. Everything is about whether or not he's going to get elected again. It's not about public safety. It's not about my safety. It's not about your safety. It's about his election.
About ensuring the election.
That's right. And so if he's going to offend somebody that may be voting, he's not going to have an opinion on it. And we haven't been cooperating with ICE for years. And so for him to say it now, it's, oh, that's the law. I'm bound by the law. Well, so is the Orange County Sheriff. And they're finding a way around it. They're keeping their citizens safe. And, it's a simple matter of giving everyone's release date, making it public information. If it's public information, then the federal government obviously has access to it. And really, who cares if everyone knows when people are getting out of jail? I mean, that isn't anything, that's not secret. That's public information.
Yep.
So if you make it public information, you're not violating anybody's rights. You're not violating any laws. And it's a way for them to keep the community safe. Our sheriff doesn't do it. I mean, there's another red flag.
I just don't understand why people want to protect the criminals. I mean, just from a common guy on ground level, with a family.
This sanctuary state law, when you talk to people about it, it's all about emotion. There's no common sense. There's no fact. There's no reality involved in it. It's all about emotion. And people are, oh, you're gonna separate families, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna take grandma, and you're gonna just raid my house, and all of these bad things. Law enforcement has no desire to do any. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department has no desire. I can't tell you the amount of residents of Riverside County that I've come into contact with in my career, 25 years. Never once have I asked anybody if they were legal here. I mean, I come across victims all the time. In my head, I know they're probably not legal. They don't speak any English, and I don't care if it's Spanish, Russian, some type of Persian dialect or any type of any dialect. If there's no English, chances are you would think maybe they could not be here legally. I couldn't care less. But
if you commit a crime, it's a crime.
You break the law.
Yeah.
You've completely put yourself in a different category than the guy just trying to make a living for his family.
Yeah.
He really is. I come from a family of immigrants. My family came here from Italy. They didn't break laws. They came here, they assimilated, they learned the language, they wanted to be Americans, they wanted to do things right, and everything's all good. So I can't say I'm against, immigration, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But you got to do things right. I'm completely for the rule of law.
Right.
And we have state law, we have federal law. Federal law, is supposed to be upheld by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
We can, as law enforcement officers, do that also. But we have to. We at the same time, we've got to have priorities. I can promise the residents of Riverside County that I'm not going to be, going in and walking down the street and picking up grandma and having her deported by ICE. But if grandma's going to murder someone and then expect to get out of jail without being deported,
well, a slap on the wrist.
That's not going to happen. Oh. We've got to use common sense and safety.
Man, what about the budget constraints that are going on with the county? Because it seems like we're kind of talking about earlier is that, you got criminals coming in and out, but we only have so much budget to go around here. So, Sheriff Sniff kind of leans back on, I don't have enough money, but it's like, well, how do we get more money, or how can we do things more effective and streamlined?
Right. We've listened for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I need more money. And the board's saying, I don't have more money. I don't have any more. You don't get any more. We don't have it. Do with what you got. And nothing's ever changed. So really, I'm not going to do the same thing over and over again. I'm not going to go in there. My first day in office, I'm not going to say, okay, give me more money so I can hire people. It isn't going to work. I'm going to find a way to make a difference. I know that just in our corrections, having deputies work the jails rather than our correctional deputies, we have two different classifications of deputies. We have jail deputies, which are correctional deputies, and we have sworn deputy sheriffs, which are patrol deputies. And currently we have patrol deputies working inside the jail. Makes absolutely no economic sense whatsoever. So my version of corrections and the sheriff's version of corrections is a $7 to $10 million difference per year where I could save that money. Everyone in our department knows it.
That's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. So what could I do with that $10 million? I could do a lot with $10 million. If the Board of Supervisors, which they are for public safety, if I can save $10 million, they're probably not going to want it back. They're going to let me spend it somewhere else. I'll hire $10 million worth of more employees, more deputies to bolster our patrol situation, to bolster the county areas where we're claiming now that everyone knows there's no deputies out working in the county areas. So why wouldn't we be doing something to save money to be able to hire those without asking for more? We're just being more efficient in our own department. And everyone in our department knows that that's the case. But the current sheriff 10 years ago said, no, I'm not doing that. So if he says he's going to do it now, then he's going to have to admit that he could have done it 10 years ago. And that's $100 million now.
Wow.
So he's wasted $100 million just because he has an ego problem that he doesn't want to admit that maybe somebody else knew different, or maybe that was a good idea, and just because I didn't like it, that may not have been the right decision. So we know we can make a difference within our own budgets, within our own department, that can save money to where we can reallocate that to things that we need. So I don't believe we necessarily have to get more money. If you look at the budget from the county and the available money that they have, public safety takes up between 70 and 80% of it. I don't believe we need to just keep increasing that percentage. The money keeps, it's going up. I mean, sooner or later, we just have to say, okay,
let's spend it better.
Right. I mean, we're in 2018 now. I think we can be more efficient. We can make government more efficient.
Yeah, because it seems like from the common person looking into the government and politics, stuff like that, there's always wasted money. There's always a lot of fat on the bone kind of thing.
I can tell you there's lots of wasted money. The current sheriff is going to tell everybody that I have no experience. Blah blah blah. He's got to come up with something. Lieutenants in our department run our budgets, so I have 12 years of experience doing a budget. I've been a lieutenant now for 12 years. If you go off of numbers, I have more budget experience than he does. His budget right now is he goes out and he's an absentee sheriff. He doesn't work in our department. He has complete control over it verbally, and he's got his hands in everything, but he's never at work. He's always out in public. He's always at meetings. He's always at school boards. He's always
shaking hands, kissing babies.
That's absolutely right. So he's not involved in the budget. His involvement of the budget is the lieutenants in our department make a budget for each individual station. It all goes downtown to the accountants. The accountants put them all into one program, one big budget. They make a PowerPoint, give it to the sheriff, and then the sheriff goes and gives that to the Board of Supervisors. So his experience is a PowerPoint machine. I can tell you that I've physically been involved in every year's budget for the last 12. And I know we don't save money. It's embarrassing that we don't save money. We have no intention of saving money. And our goal at the end of every budget cycle is to spend every single bit of money that we have so we can ask for it again next year. If you don't spend it, that means you don't need it and you're not going to get it next year.
Interesting.
That's how government works. I don't believe that should work like that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. And I don't believe that the taxpayers believe it should work like that. And that's not how I will run our department. If we can save money, we should be saving money. We don't buy all new computers just because it's the end of the year and we have money left. We buy stuff when we need it, when it breaks, just like any other person does. I mean, your home computer, you don't buy a new computer every year just because you got money in your budget.
Right.
It makes no sense. Your computer was perfectly good last year. So we need a mentality change in our department that starts at the top and filters down to everybody else. And that's what I have to offer budget-wise for this department. Excellent. And it's more of an open, transparent relationship with the Board of Supervisors, because currently the sheriff just tells him what he wants and they have to guess if he really needs it. And it'll be completely all in the open, and it really will be on them. The Board of Supervisors will know exactly how much it costs to run the department today. They're going to know what I want to make it better or what I think we need, and they're going to have to come up with the final amount, whether it's somewhere in between or whether it's lower. And if it's lower, they're going to have to own it, and they're going to have to say, yeah, we chose to do that. But right now, they don't believe the sheriff because he's not transparent, he's not honest, he's not open about his budget.
He has that reputation about that.
That's right. Not only with the Board of Supervisors, but all of our contract cities. You've got all of our contract cities wanting to do away with the sheriff's department. No other county is doing that because they trust their sheriff. They believe their sheriff when they're transparent and the sheriffs tell them things and show them things. You have that trust. Ours doesn't do that. So now we have a broken relationship with all of the Board of Supervisors, with our contract cities that don't believe they're getting the best service possible, so they want to somehow form their own police department. That doesn't happen anywhere else. It's almost embarrassing in law enforcement.
So the system's broken.
Very much so.
And you're the man to fix it.
I am.
So
because
let's say,
want to.
Because you want to, and I could tell you definitely have a passion for this, and passion trumps anything else. It's truly amazing. So let's say June 5th. You get more than 50% of the vote, because there's actually going to be 4 candidates, right?
There is 4.
Okay. So let's say everybody votes for you, or a big majority.
They're going to.
They're going to, because they're going to watch this video. And
Absolutely.
Like, I love that guy.
Absolutely.
So you get elected. What is your action plan for the first 90 days?
Wow. The first 90 days. Well, probably the number one thing I'm going to have to do is right now, internally, we have a morale issue that is completely killing our department. And
why
we
is
are
that?
losing. Really, it's a lack of leadership. It's a lack of direction. It's a lack of trust between the deputies and management. It's a lack of being empowered. It's a lack of allowing them to go out and do their job. It's a micromanagement issue. It's a no one can make a decision issue because somebody else higher than you always has to make the decision. And so all of our deputies, all of our line staff, they're all leaving. And they're going to work for other police departments, and that has to stop. I mean, immediately they have to know that we are changing direction, and they have to be empowered to go out there and want to make a difference. They have to know that is our mission. Is everyone's on the same page now, and this is where we're going. We have this community-oriented philosophy that we are going to get to eventually, and everybody better be on that path to get there. And that's all anybody wants. They want to know what I'm supposed to be doing today and what do I have to do to get there. And they want to know that the people behind them are with them along the way, not throwing them out to the wind and then when something happens saying, oh,
throw them under the bus.
That's right. So from the beginning, that will be number one priority. We have a enormous staffing issue in our department where we are not, there is no one going through and making sure that we are spreading the brunt of our budget woes and our lack of personnel woes evenly amongst all the stations. Some are worse than others. And Are we short now? Yes, we are. I mean, he has allowed everyone to leave. He has allowed he's supposed to be doing hiring to maintain the attrition rates and to actually be right on budget, and he's not. He's just it's easy for him to just let everyone leave, and then that's his way he balances budgets. He doesn't have to save budgets. He just lets everybody leave. Now he's not spending any money.
So we have less resources, less people on the streets. Man.
Absolutely. So everyone's going to have to bear the burden of this equally. Sure. And the deputies will like that. I mean, they want to know that everyone's being treated the same. They want to know that I'm actually looking out for them, and we're doing the absolute best we can for them. So morale will really, although it seems like a huge issue, it will be easy to change. Mm-hmm. So we need to get more people out into the patrol areas without forcing them to do overtime, just so we can have minimum staffing in county areas. So by moving people around, we're going to be able to do that. We have a lot of deputies that are working inside the jail. They need to come out. They need to be back out in patrol where they belong. That has to happen. That really will be my number one priority, because once I get those out of there, that's where that $10 million savings coming from. That now I have $10 million that I can play with, whether it's staffing or equipment or updates to make things more efficient. Those types of issues. And then we also have the whole KPMG thing. It was a fiasco, and nobody likes it, because a wasted $40 million for them to come in and find efficiencies that we all know are there.
Yeah.
But why haven't we done them?
Right.
You can say, they came up. The sheriff says, they came up with nothing new. All the efficiencies that they're coming up with, we already knew that. Okay, well then why haven't you done them? I mean, somebody's going to have to start doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what new blood is going to do. That's what a different direction is going to do for our county. And the officers or the deputies that are coming to work every day, when they see that, when they know that, they're going to want to be a part of it. They're going to want to come to work. They're going to know that they're valued. They know that they're empowered. So that's number one. And it actually encompasses several different things that you have to do together that takes care of multiple issues.
Well, I see that being the catalyst of change. Once without vision, the people perish, right? So
Absolutely.
You got to have that vision. And it sounds like you have that vision. And once they get enthusiastic about it, it's the whole
absolutely. And the department is behind me.
Yeah.
The department is
the whole union and sheriffs. Sheriff's
Association has not only endorsed me. They have given a lot of money, and the elephant in the room, I don't even know if you'd call it that, but that's basically saying that we have absolutely zero faith in the leadership of our department, right, and we want someone else, and we want them in this election. They're not. We're all intelligent. We know what it takes. It's a huge election, and money wins elections.
Yep.
And so with the association giving me money, it's to level the playing field. With the sheriff spending, his entire day revolves around going out and doing fundraising and getting money and getting support for his elections. That's not my job. That's not my day. And so the association providing that money, that levels the playing field. Nice. And that allows me to get my voice out there. So it's interesting because he did everything he could to try and get that endorsement and try and get that money other than earn it. He just demanded it. And when he didn't get it, now all of a sudden they're bad people, and he has to make he calls them, it's an association of deputy sheriffs, but he will only refer to them now as union, because union is a bad word. I mean, nobody wants to elect a union guy. He's going to ruin the whole world. But that's how he plays it. He's a wordsmith, and he's not a realist. He's a wordsmith, and he tries to not intimidate. He tries to influence people with creative wording, and he's basically insulting all of the deputy sheriffs by saying that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't, they're just, he's throwing out body cameras. He's saying that the union, the association, he calls it the union, that the deputies don't like him because he implemented body camera. Well, the reality is, myself included, 99.999% of our employees want body cameras.
It protects them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for the sheriff to get out and lie to the general public, basically. My wife doesn't like me. She likes mislead. So for him to mislead the public and tell them that the deputies do not want body cameras and that the association did not want body cameras, that is just a misrepresentation of fact. And that is not something that the head law enforcement officer in the county, whose livelihood and whose career is based on integrity, that is not something that he should be doing. And there's another red flag. If he's not going to be honest about that, what else is he not being honest about? I know he's not being honest about the budget. He's not being honest about body cameras. He's not being honest about the staffing in the jail. Mm-hmm. He's not being honest with contract city staffing and the contract rate of deputies.
Well, there you have it, folks. A changing of the guard, a new sheriff in town, hopefully.
Yes, June 5th.
You need to get out June 5th, vote. And so if you get more than 50% of the vote, then it's yours. If not, then it's going to go to
the top 2 vote getters will go to November.
And the gloves are really going to come off, aren't they?
Right. But we want it to end in June. We don't want any more money being spent on an election cycle from May till June, or from June till November. So get out there and vote. Make sure you vote correctly, which hopefully would be for
Chad
me.
Bianco.
That's right, Chad Bianco on June 5th. A lot of people don't know that it really is important for June 5th. They assume that, the preliminaries aren't important. I'll wait till November when it's really important, when it's not that way. And one of the Board of Supervisors recently said in a meeting, Kevin Jeffries said that this is going to be the most important sheriff's election in the history of Riverside County. And that is very, very true. And he wouldn't say that if he wanted things to keep going the way they're going, which is interesting because he, months and months and months ago, he endorsed the sheriff. But my personal opinion is that statement alone, is a little says a lot. Wow. And it is going to be important, and everyone needs to get out and vote June 5th. Chad Bianco for sheriff.
And there you have it, folks. The Red Tie community is in good hands with Mr. Chad Bianco. So June 5th, get out and vote. Make sure you check the box next to this man's name. Get a yard sign.
Absolutely.
I saw a yard sign on Facebook, and it looks like somebody ran over a wall, and your sign was right there, and it's like, missed your sign, but knocked over the guy's wall. But that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. We like having all kinds of pictures of the yard signs, whether it's in your yard or with your pets. Right now we have a
pet campaign. That was cool.
So it's all in fun too.
So if you want to get one of those signs, if you want to promote and advertise, go to Chad Bianco for Sheriff.
ChadBiancoForSheriff.com. You can contact us at Chad Bianco for Sheriff 2018 on Facebook.
Awesome.
Very easily accessible through social media.
Very cool. And that's exactly how I came across you. Like, you responded within a day or a couple hours or whatever it was. And so it's nice when our soon-to-be elected officials are on the ground level in the community, which is the Red Tie community.
There you go.
And that's it. John Butler, the bald guy in the red tie, with Chad Bianco, saying, see you in escrow. Bye.